Hi, welcome back everybody. This is Ali the Creator, and today we are working on the Tall Tower Shell Challenge from James Turner YT. He is one of the YouTubers that I watch quite often, and I think that in the end, this video and this build actually turns out really well. I did have to do a lot of editing because I spent probably 6 hours on this, and I did record all of it, so I managed to get it down to just under 30 minutes for everybody. I took out a lot of unnecessary things that I didn't end up doing or keeping, and stuff that I changed. So I think in the end it all works out. So as you can see, I'm actually just switching the top piece because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with this build. At first I was thinking that maybe I would make it a museum. So I pulled out this piece from Jungle Adventure and I sized it up. I had sized up a ton of pieces before this. I tried using the knight and I tried using a bunch of different things from the museums that they use, but nothing seemed to work very well. And in a little bit you'll see that I finally make a decision on what I would like to keep this as. So I do end up changing it here to be a lighthouse, and my thought was that it's like a lighthouse piece on top, and I just made the whole thing an actual lighthouse, or like an old and refurbished lighthouse. So that was my thought. I was considering putting these posts back up, but I was actually thinking about how difficult it would be to play in this, and I didn't really want columns everywhere, so I did take them off. But here I am just picking out the different kinds of wallpaper that I wanted. I couldn't decide between the stone or what I actually wanted, but like I said, I did want it to have like an old and refurbished kind of feel to it. So I thought that maybe they had painted some of them and just left the other ones. But like I said, I did cut out a bunch of different areas, so there is spaces where like most of the landscaping I cut out because that took like 2 hours and it's just very repetitive and just things like that. So here I am just kind of figuring out the outside. I did change all of the stairs to be something that I liked a little bit better. These stairs were individually placed, so it took me forever to go through and delete each singular one. Also because it is so rocky, so you can see here I figured that when I placed down the stairs that each one was drawn on specifically. So I went through and I was able to do that. And then I wanted to have proper access to the back because I figured that if the Sims were going up this tiny little staircase that was just on the side where that narrow little hallway is, that it would get very annoying very quick and they would all get so clustered and like stuck there together. So I did actually playtest this. I had my Sim there for a few hours. And actually the Sim that I used is a kleptomaniac, and I completely forgot. And she went through and she stole a bunch of things that I had left. So I had to go back afterwards and replace the things that she stole. She stole a bunch of the knickknacks that are up in the cafe because she was there for hours. She stole like 3 of them. You'll see later on when I am building the top. But here I am just kind of struggling with the stairs. I kind of wanted them to wrap around, but it wasn't really working. So I did end up switching it, and I just kind of copied and pasted all the way up. Thankfully, this build is just wide enough that you can fit the stairs in properly, and it seems to work very well. I originally wanted to have access to the top, and I was thinking of making it a garden, but that would have really messed up the lighting. So I did end up changing it, and I just took that out, and I made the top tier of the tower to be kind of the cafe-esque area where you can sit and have a cafe and like a drink and sit down. Which, thinking realistically, is probably not the best idea because who wants to walk up like 4 flights of stairs and this entire mountain to go and have a coffee? And when I was going in to take screenshots, I had my Sims there to make it more realistic, and there was people walking up and down the stairs constantly because it takes forever for them to get up and down. So I think making this a house, just in my perspective, didn't make sense because they would be late for school and for work and everything. Although if you wanted to really live by yourself, that would definitely work well because obviously nobody would come visit you if you live at the very top of a mountain. At least not in my perspective. I'm not willing to crawl all the way up a mountain to visit somebody, but that's just me. So here I am just placing the windows and everything. I was just kind of getting the feel for the place. Like I said, wasn't totally sure what I wanted to do. I hit a bit of a stump when I was thinking about doing the outside and what I wanted to put around the outside of the quote-unquote lighthouse. I do end up just kind of tying it into everything else. Like each level, I guess, is kind of its own level. And you'll see what I mean later on when I start placing down more pieces. So here I am just putting a bathroom. This build does have 2 bathrooms because I figured your Sims if they have to walk all the way down 4 flights of stairs to go to the washroom, it's going to take way too long. And especially since this is a community lot, there's so many Sims there all the time. I didn't want them getting lost or like getting stuck not being able to go to the washroom because I find that's an issue that I have a lot when I'm in gameplay. But that's just me. So here I am just kind of taking out all the things. I love the build and buy objects for Get to Work when I'm building community lots. Honestly, they're my favorite out of everything. I love how they have like the fire extinguisher and like the emergency exit sign, and they have like the hand sanitizer and like all that stuff. And when COVID first started, I remember I used the hand sanitizer like all the freaking time because I was like, people are going to need to, like, they need to sanitize their hands. That's how it is in our world. So I use the hand sanitizer all the time. And here you can see I'm kind of just going around with the fencing. And I did miss a piece, but I'll go back later and I do put that piece in. Like I said, this whole build is play tested. So you can put this in your world if you want. I'll have the link down below for it. And I actually have been using this as a cafe, but you can switch it to something else if you want, or even like make it a house and like change one of the levels to be a house. I think it would be a really interesting house to have. I guess, I don't know, it would be very, very tall, but it would definitely work. It would be like a fun house, I think, for like kids to play through. But that's just me. I wasn't totally sure about the kind of wallpaper I wanted to have for the inside, so I do end up leaving it for the first little bit, and I go back later on and decide what kind of wallpaper to have. But here I am just kind of figuring out the bottom piece. I did think about having like a bunch of different chairs and stuff and tables in the bottom, but there just wasn't really the space to be able to have it. So I ended up putting in just one table and chairs. That way there's a place to sit inside. And I put kind of like a reading nook in the corner with like a couch and everything. Yeah, and so I just kind of go through and I'm just starting to place things in the inside. It didn't take me very long to furnish this build, actually. It was more the landscaping and figuring everything else out in the end. But it turned out really, really good, I think. Like, I really liked it. And although I definitely wouldn't say it's one of my favorite builds, I did it more as a challenge to see what I could think of to be able to place here. Because I absolutely love James Turner's videos, and I watch those religiously. They just come out at a good time, honestly. Where I live, they come out at 9 a.m. And so for the longest time, I would work at 11. And so it was just enough time for me to be able to sit down and I could drink my coffee and I could watch his videos. And that was when he was going through the phase of posting a video almost every single day. So it just, like, it worked out so well for me, and I absolutely loved it. And now every single day I go and I check on YouTube almost every day and I look for a video. But obviously he has a life and needs to do other things himself. I completely understand that. It's been like since November. It's been like 4 months since I've posted a video, and honestly, life just kind of, it gets a hold of you and you don't really realize that like so much time is passing. And as much as I love making these videos and I love posting them, editing is not one of my strong suits. So it does take me a while to edit these videos. Like, I spent almost 16 hours editing this one because it was so long, and I went through it piece by piece, and then I have to do all these different things. So it is very, very time consuming. But playing and designing and making a video and being able to put it out there for other people to see, like, I really enjoyed the idea of somebody being able to, like, look at my videos and be like, wow, she has, like, a really good idea or something. Like, something like that. It just makes me, like, really happy to think about. So that's one of the reasons why I do it. But it is definitely time consuming. And I, like, cherish those people who can do this as a full-time job, because I have a full-time job outside of doing this. And I'm also a student. So that's like 90% of my week right there. And then somehow I need to fit in, like, sleeping and things, and creating videos for The Sims, as much as I absolutely love doing it, is just not the number one thing on my list, unfortunately. But saying that, I think that when I graduate in 45 days, 44 days now, not that we're counting down, but when I graduate, this will definitely become higher up on my list, because I would really, really like to start posting videos more often. Probably shorter ones that aren't this long. This one is a little bit long for my taste, and if I was to watch this video, I mean, outside of the regular YouTubers that I watch, I wouldn't watch this video. It's too long for me. But if it's somebody that I regularly watch, then I definitely would. So it all kind of depends, like, people's personal preference, because I know so many people who only watch the really long videos because they should see the short ones as, like, not being long enough for their taste. But people like Simlissy and Miss Griffey, like, people like that who post, like, generally shorter videos are the ones that I watch, like, all the time, and I find that I actually pay attention. Whereas the long videos, I will play those in the background when I'm doing stuff. Which I really, really enjoy, because I kind of get drawn in on, like, certain parts when they're, like, doing something that I enjoy doing. Or, like, if I see a new piece and I'm not quite sure which pack it's from, I'll go and I'll, like, watch it for, like, another 10 or 20 minutes and just kind of get stuck in what they're doing. So that's just what I do. And I know obviously everybody is different and everybody has their own preferences. But yeah, here we are just working on the top of the cafe. I should stop rambling. I should definitely focus on this. And I'm just kind of placing tables and chairs and everything. And when I was doing my playtesting, actually, the people, or the Sims, I guess, I found they migrated kind of to the top. And everybody was up here, like, using the cafe. So I thought that was really, really nice. But it definitely, like, took away from the other part of the, like, the other levels of the build. I found that they weren't using those ones as much. But maybe that was just me. Maybe I just didn't, like, see them using it that much. For this third level, I couldn't really decide what I wanted to do. So I did go through, and I wanted it to be skill building. Like, I wanted people to be able to come here and, like, skill build and be able to, like, create things. So I put chess on this level, and I, like, kind of left it very minimal. I put down some rugs and I, like, decorated and stuff, but that was about it. I didn't put a whole lot here. I think I put a chair over in the corner, and that was probably it, because I wanted them to be able to, like, have this as kind of like a quiet level. Obviously, because there would be, like, so many people, like, going up and down. But I kind of was thinking, like, Queen's Gambit kind of feel to it, where, like, everybody's quiet and they just sit and they play chess. Like, you need to actually focus on what you're doing. So, speaking of the Queen's Gambit, has anybody absolutely fallen in love with that TV show? Because it is one of my favorites, and I'm working on my third time watching it right now, and I'm still, like, I still love it. It just has so many different, like, feels to it. And the main actress, I can't remember her name right now, but oh my gosh, she is perfect for that role. I absolutely love her. She is just, I don't know, she's fantastic, and she, like, really plays the role, and just her face shape, I find, like, for that time, she just, I don't know, she's perfect. I love her. I I really liked the TV show, and I found it just like, it like captured my attention so well. Like I was like constantly noticing little things that they would have, like they have like chest shapes in the background and stuff like that. And I really like movies and videos and stuff like that. Like I'm a very big film buff. I'm actually taking as like just a for fun kind of class. I had an extra space in my schedule, so I'm taking a film studies class. And one of the things that my like professor was saying was that you need to notice the background stuff, and I find that like I actually am noticing the background stuff. Like I know that sounds crazy because he was just like, just notice the background stuff, but I'm like, I'm actually like paying attention to it and I'm seeing it. And like we watched a movie a few weeks ago called Reservoir Dogs, and it's on Netflix if anybody wants to watch it. It's a pretty good movie, not something I would have watched on my own, but I'm very happy that I watched it. And honestly, just the different elements of the movie, and like the fact that they are like showing the death but like way beforehand and like stuff like that. They're like, they always have things in the background that show what's going to be happening in the next scene or like towards the end of the movie. And I thought it was like such an interesting movie, and I watched it twice because I had to write a report on it, obviously. But it was so like, it was just a really interesting movie, and it was really fun to see how like the director and everything like pulled everything together to like kind of make sense. And like all these different characters, like some of them you like hardly even see, but they talk about them so much. So it just was like really interesting to see that. But getting back to the build, I finished the other level. We made it a piano level, so I kind of made it like a whole piano suite. Where there's like a piano there that somebody could play, and then I placed a bunch of chairs so they can like sit down and be able to like listen. And then I went outside and I was starting to place down the trees, and I realized that a lot of them wouldn't like stay on the outside because it was so like straight edged. So I added a bunch of ridges all the way around, and I decided that I wanted to add like a little pond. This place also I think would be really good as a wedding venue. I don't have that pack, or yeah, I guess it's a pack, not a kit. They're so all about kits right now. The like My Wedding Stories pack, I've heard just like so many things about it, that it has like so many bugs and all that stuff. So I'm just kind of hold off before I get it. I don't know if I would even end up getting it. Honestly, I don't have weddings very often. My people just they elope and they get done with it. There's so many bugs with the weddings, and there's so many issues with it. But that's just in general, not even with the My Wedding Stories. I don't know. I just try not to have weddings in general. I'm not a huge wedding person, like, in my own life, let alone, like, in The Sims, but I did add a little gazebo outside. I did end up putting couches in it because I didn't want this to be a wedding venue, but if you did want to make it a wedding venue, I would definitely recommend making the gazebo, like, probably a little bit bigger, and having, like, your people get married in there. Obviously, it's, like, up to the personal preference, but I thought that it would, like, look really, really nice to have, like, kind of a wedding gazebo. Maybe that should be another community build that I do. I don't do community builds, like, very often. I build, like, a lot of houses, especially, like, only on my own time, and I've been really thinking about doing, like, more community builds, and I think maybe I would do that as another one. But here I am just kind of making sure that all the wood tones match up. I really wish that they were, like, all the same color. Like, I don't know. I just have a really hard time, especially with wood tones. Like, with colors, it doesn't bother me as much. But with wood tones, I'm like, would they not just use the same, like, kind of wood? So if it's, like, a little bit different, it kind of bothers me. But obviously, like, unless I completely change what I want to do, then I can't have everything be the same color, which is really frustrating. And I know with The Sims 3, they had, like, the color wheel. But I definitely don't want that. I just want things to, like, all have the option of being the same color. Like, just... it would be nice if everything could be the same color and, like, have the same kind of swatches. And, like, still have their extra ones, but, like, I find that the newer pieces that they're coming out with, especially recently, are having a lot more swatches with them, which is really, really nice. Because obviously they like match with things a lot better, but I just like having the different variety with all the stuff. And like when they added all the different swatches for like the chess tables and things like that, it was like really, really nice to see, because I just like, I like using the different colored swatches, and I really like using dark wood tones. If I'm in apartments and I'm like building apartments, then usually I use lighter wood tones, but I prefer using the darker ones. Just because, I don't know, I just find it looks nicer and in the light and everything. And with the lighter wood tones, sometimes they're way too bright and you just can't, like, it's just hard to see. Like, maybe it's just me, but when I play in like Oasis Springs and I'm trying to use like lighter wood tones, like I built like a huge, like a mobster's house there a few weeks ago, and the house turned out really, really well, but I ended up having to change the colorings of the house because it was so bright in Oasis Springs all the time. Even at night, I find it's generally bright there. And it's just like, it's hard to see when I'm like playing. But maybe it's just me. It's probably just me. I'm probably just like imagining that, and everybody's like, Allie, that's crazy. Oasis Springs is like the darkest place there. Actually, I really like, what is the build world? It's like kind of like Godric's Hollow, but it's not called that. It's for like the vampires. I really, really like that world, and the name of it is just escaping me right now. But I like that world. If I want to play somewhere where it's like dark all the time, and I just like, I said regular families there, I'm just like, oh, you guys want to live like in a really old Victorian style house, like sure, go live down there. And I don't know, I just really like it. And I really like that in that world you can, like, even though it's very small, I think there's only like 4 or 5 lots there, but you can see every single house no matter like where you're going to be. And I really like that aspect of it. And it's the same with whichever world came with the witches and the wizards. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad at the names for these things. But I really, really like that world as well, because I find that just like, I like being able to like see the houses all around. I don't know. It's just, that's just me. Like, I do really, really like Windenburg, like the huge world with like the 20 lots. I absolutely love that world. And I love that it kind of gives you like European vibes to it, because I am European, and I like, that's kind of where my family's from. So I do really, really like that. But it is such a big world. Like, I love that it's so big, but it is such a big world that it's just like it's so difficult to see things. But getting back onto the build again, I keep getting so distracted. I have finished the outside pretty much. I went through and I did it off camera, but I added little lights to each singular post all the way down the stairs. That took me forever. But here I am just kind of figuring everything out in the outside. I added a bunch more seating there, and I added just a small bar. So like I said, if this was to be a wedding venue, I think it would actually work really, really well. But I also added a barbecue, so your Sims could like make actual food if they wanted, or like barbecued food. And I'm just kind of going through, and I'm like starting to pull out the trees and all the different pieces that I want, and like adding all those like all along. And here you can see I skipped most of that because it took forever. But I did make the outdoors like very lush, and it's like definitely has like a lot of I don't know, like a lot of trees, like a lot of foliage and stuff like that. So it was really difficult to do, actually, because it's on the mountain. I tend not to use landscaping as much. Like, sometimes I'll raise like the flooring just a little bit, or I'll use like platforms to give something some depth, because I just find landscaping on mountains or things that are like such a steep hill is so difficult to do, because you just like, nothing's ever in the right spot, and it's never like touching the ground. And I also don't use that red tool that a bunch of other people use. I know like so many people use that tool, and I've been really considering using it and like getting it, but I don't know, I haven't, and it's not something that I'm like thinking about getting that much. It's like, I like making authentic builds where I just like turn off move objects, and that's kind of it. Speaking of using cheats, my Delicacy sweater came in yesterday, and I have been living in this thing. It's so nice. It's a little bit long for my body, But I did get an extra large because I like having like my sweaters to be like a lot bigger. But I absolutely love it. It's so nice and like soft. I did get a black one because they were out of sage, and I like was waiting and waiting and waiting to like even be able to order a sweater because they were out of stock for so long. And I eventually just like when they came back in stock, I got a black one because like I don't mind. I can set it with like I can wear like colored printed pants and like stuff like that. So we'll see. I really like the sweater. I'm thinking of getting like one of the t-shirts, but I don't actually wear t-shirts that often. I usually wear like sweaters, especially when I'm like at home and stuff. But I really like it. It's really nice. I'll also place the link to her store right down below, so you guys can get that if you want. But yeah, I highly recommend. It's definitely worth it, and it took like, I don't know, like probably about a month to come in. I got it a while ago, but I got an email once it was like in my mailbox. So I absolutely love it. And I think it's really nice, and it's very like cozy, and I don't know, I just love the whole aspect of it. I love the fact that it like has cheats and stuff like written on it, and I just think it is so funny. Like that's such a smart idea, and it's definitely not something that I would have ever thought of, but I just think it's like, it's so like smart, you know what I mean? Like she should make other things that are like this. You know what I would absolutely love, actually? I would love a mug that has the cheats written on it, because I mean I always like, I try to remember the cheats. I have them all written in my notes actually on my phone, but I like, if I was to ever forget, if I was to look in a place, it would definitely be on a mug. And the amount of like just funny mugs that I have, like I posted a picture wearing this sweater on Instagram, and in the picture I'm holding onto, it's a mug of Chip, like from Beauty and the Beast. And I just think it, like, I just thought it was so cute, and it's like kind of minimalistic. I don't know, I really like it. I absolutely love this sweater though. 10 out of 10 recommend. And I think it was like such a great idea to buy. And it is, I wanted to get myself something for my graduation from school. As like I said, I'm graduating in a few weeks. And this was my investment to myself. I don't buy I don't buy new clothes. I don't buy things like that very often, but I got this as like a present for myself, and I think it was just like, it was a great idea. There's never not going to be a time where I don't wear sweaters. Like I always wear sweaters. It's a regular part of my life. So yeah, I don't know. I really like it. I think that it looks really nice. And we're actually nearing the end of the build right now. I'm just kind of going through, and I thought I had cut out actually more of the footage with the landscaping and stuff, but I'm kind of glad I kept it in, because this is all like the little nitpicky things where I'm like adding like little bushes and flowers and like all those little trees and everything. And here I am, 2 of the posts just like they did not stick on for some reason when I was building, so I went into the debug menu and I picked out posts that look similar, and I added those ones in. And here I am just adding like the last little bits and a bunch of mushrooms all around. I love the debug menu for cottage living. I think it is so nice, and there's like so many different things there because there's so much stuff in their world, but I absolutely love it. I think that they have like so many different options of things, and if I was to have to only pick like 1 or 2 packs to like keep forever, cottage living would definitely be like probably almost my number 1, because I just absolutely love it. I think it is such a great pack. I am just like going on and on about how much I love these packs. But yeah, I'm just adding a few different things, and then we go through and I think color the ground. And that's about it. I thought about like adding a bench for like people to sit on at the very bottom, but I ended up changing my mind and I didn't. I just left the little person there, but here I am just kind of coloring everything to be like a little bit darker. That way it looks like there could at least be like a shadow or something on the outside, where all the like trees and stuff are. And I added some vines just to kind of give it like a more rustic, and like I said, this should be like an older kind of build. But yeah, that's about it. I think that this build turned out really well, personally. I hope you download it. Everything will be down in the bottom for the links, and please subscribe.